the Kitty Hawk Town Council to order Monday, May the 1st, 2017 at Kitty Hawk Town Hall. It is now 6 p.m. We normally have next a moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance. We had a recently departed, way too soon, Public Works personnel, Mark Dean. If you would, during a moment of silence, perhaps think of him. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have quite a bit to do tonight. Next is approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. All right, next we have presentations. Chief Lowell Spivey spent 20 years at Kitty Hawk. You gonna do that?
I will.
Seen a change or two, have you, Chief? I live in here since 1942. That works.
For those who don't know, Chief Lowell Spivey has been with the town for 20 years, I believe a little bit longer, but he's been the chief for that same amount of time, 20 years. I believe he started when it was basically a volunteer fire department. So he's been here really since the beginning of our fully staffed fire department. Chief is well respected, as you can see. His firefighters are here today. I know there's never no competition, Joel, but I didn't see too many guys here. Chief, I think he's really respected within his department. He's respected within the community. He's also a graduate of the Executive Leadership course for the National Fire Academy. He was instrumental at reducing our ISO rating from a 5 to a 4 last year, which saves significant on premiums for our residents. And I've only known him for a year and a half, but I just know he is a kind-hearted, caring individual. When we had our employee pass away here last month, Chief went out, to the house to visit with the family after he heard the news. So I ran into him on the way over there myself. But I can't say enough about him, his leadership, and we're lucky to have him in the town of Kitty Hawk. And Chief, congratulations on 20 years.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, it's been a short time for you, but I'll
It's
let
been
you.
a pleasure, but I guess I'm chasing Glenn, So we'll see. I don't know how many more.
Well, at least 10 more if you're gonna do that.
We'll present him with a plaque for 20 years of service.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all.
It wasn't said, but Lowell was chosen as the first fire chief, and then, of course, we've since built a firehouse, and I'm told it can't be called it has to be called a firehouse because people live there. That's what I understand anyway. And so he's brought that along, and you're right. The people in the community do respect and admire him and all that he's done. So thank you, Lowell. Thank you, Chief. All right, next are some first flight students. Who's going to speak at that?
Hello, my name's Parker Sylvia. We're part of Mr. Herman's class at First Flight High School. We're doing a civics project that's called Make a Difference. And these are the other students.
My name's Alex Nicholas, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Shelby Miller, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Cole Neff, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Ben Midgette, and I'm a sophomore.
All right, so our presentation today is on a roadside trash cleanup. And try to enlarge this. There we go. All right. So a nickname or abbreviation for the name is OBX RTC. So this is what we have. How we are planning to make a difference is cleaning up the street sides of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. When you drive coming off from the north, off of the Wright Memorial Bridge, and you enter Kitty Hawk, there are spots along the road that have trash on the side, and there's actually a lot of trash on the side. When this past weekend, I actually went down there and I looked, and there was an abundance of it. So our presentation is based off of, we want to get this trash up and out of there as fast as we can, because as you can tell, the summer's coming around, and if we have tourists coming by and seeing a bunch of trash on the side of the road, that's not a very good thing for tourism and for the viewing of our community. So that's what we're basing our project off of.
We're gonna have the Twitty organization, and they're gonna, the Twitty organization has a section of their business devoted to environmental cleanup. The problem is that they have a very small amount of employees to pick up trash and do the labor. They're very limited on that. Twitty has recognized our idea and has agreed to provide the trash bags and pick up the bags of trash once the trash is cleaned up. So we're partnering with them, and they're gonna help with that.
So who will pick up the trash? This will strictly be a volunteer operation, and we have an environmental club at our school, and we're thinking that students in that club can participate in this, and seniors that need to get like volunteer hours can get volunteer hours from doing this. And any other wildlife program help would be greatly appreciated along the way.
The benefits would be cleaner roadsides, more appealing town appearance, and when tourists come to the beach, they want a comforting environment, not a polluted area. So it would make the community look nicer and hopefully promote more people to come here.
The cost, it would be no cost because it is a volunteer program. Twitty takes trash bags to the dumpsters, and they also supply the trash bags.
And the location would mainly be focused on in Kitty Hawk from the Wright Memorial Bridge to Eckner Street, and as we move along, hopefully we can expand this area. And that's our presentation. Do we have any questions?
Do you have a date that you're targeting?
Hopefully as quick as we can once it gets passed, and as we keep communicating with Twitty and they let us know when we can start as fast as possible.
Okay, well, let the town know, and they can advertise dates and ask for volunteers,
Yes,
so
sir.
we can help you in those kind of ways.
Yes, sir.
All
Do
right?
you have reflectorized vests? Do you need any?
That's a good question. We do not have those yet. We have not talked to Twitty about that yet also, so.
All right. Chief Johnson says, can you help them out, or really? Okay. Okay, very good, thank you. I want you to be safe.
If I can add to that, you can go to, and Willie, the Department of Transportation in Manio. They've got the Adopt a Highway program over there. They have the vests, they have the sticks that you pick the stuff up with. They also have their orange trash bags, and we can get those for nothing.
Awesome, that sounds perfect.
Okay, all you need is a date, young man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll give Lynn a chance to clear the screen.
See you guys.
Does it get any bigger than that? No, not really. Okay, that's fine. I can come like that. Okay.
All right, next we have Mr. Herb Coumcil, and Coumcil is your name, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that threw me for a little bit.
Yeah, it throws people off generally. Good evening, council members and Mr. Mayor. I am Herb Coumcil, and I'm the owner of Midway Automotive and Towing in Manteo. In addition, I live in South Nags Head, and I'm president of the South Creek Acres Homeowners Association. Tonight, I want to talk to you about trash and garbage trucks, how appropriate that these young people are here. This is an idea that I've already presented to the town of Nags Head and to the county commissioners. The idea will save money on fuel, labor, protect the environment, create safety for the drivers, and further enhance the beauty of our beaches. As we all know, during high winds, trash cans blow over and spread trash all over our beautiful beaches. In South Creek Acres, many of our cans end up in our creek. And I have a way to make that problem disappear. It's called the can stand. I have a brief video to introduce this idea to you and clearly demonstrate how the can stand works.
A tipped-over trash can is not only an eyesore, but a nuisance for trash collectors and environmentally unfriendly. Easy to install, simple to use, the can stand keeps trash cans in their place. Invented by Robert Hooper, who's been driving sanitation trucks for many years, the can stand will make trash pickup more efficient, reduces cleanup, and will make life a little easier for everyone. The principle of the can stand is simple and environmentally friendly. A metal plate on the bottom of your trash can rests on 3 powerful magnets holding the can in place. Flush with the ground, the plate requires no special treatment and doesn't call for moving anything around or jostling for position when mowing the lawn or doing yard work. With his years of experience, Robert Hooper knows that one of the biggest problems in trash pickup are cans placed too close together. Cans often spill during collection when that happens, but the can stand will eliminate that problem. Trash cans will often fall over in windy conditions as well, but the strength of the can stand keeps everything in place. Can stands can also be installed by your home to keep your trash cans looking neat and in their place. The can stand is a patented product that is available for wholesale distribution, licensing, and manufacturing.
The pad is 33 and a half by 33 and a half and 3 inches deep. It has 3 magnets on the pad and a metal plate on the bottom of the can. It will withstand winds of 65 miles an hour. And Mr. Garris, I know you were in the highway patrol. We tested this on the back of a trailer, and we were breaking the speed limit, but nobody saw us, so it was okay. But we found out that it would at least last up to 65 miles an hour before we ran out of road. I have suggested to the county that we do a test project of 25 to 50 cans at a location of their choosing, and we could also do a test project for Kitty Hawk. The test project will help you understand, I think, the benefits of the can stand and allow the drivers of the garbage trucks to provide feedback on the benefits. I would like to meet with the town manager at some later date to discuss the logistics and the cost. If you actually want to see one in action, I have one in my yard at South Nags Head. I live at 8928 South Old Oregon Inlet Road. And a reference point for that is 1/4 of a mile south of the Outer Banks Pier are fish heads, which most people know about. Thank you. Have any questions?
Does that take a different trash can from what we already
No.
have?
We have the ability to adapt this thing to any trash can. It works across the board.
And do you have a cost for each can and adaption and whatnot?
Yes, I do. The cost right now for the can and all the magnets and the installation is $150 per can.
Per can?
And let me say, yeah, $150 per can. And we're trying to get that down as we do larger quantities.
Is this your business or something?
Well, I own Midway Automotive and Towing,
Uh-huh.
and this is like a venture that
Okay. Okay.
we're testing out.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have public comment. Anybody sign up?
No, we still,
Oh, we got
Yep.
Maritime. I'm sorry. There you are. You, I ignored you because you ignored us last time. There we go.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Schedule this day. Yes, my apologies for that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the councilors. My name is Will Sassorossi, and I am a maritime archaeologist with Monterey National Marine Sanctuary. We're based out of Newport News, Virginia, but our sole focus and archaeological research is here in North Carolina and right off the Outer Banks. The reason I'm here tonight is is to kind of give a quick update to an ongoing process of potentially expanding the boundary of the Monitor National Marine Sanctuary, and give a quick background of our research from this last field season. Briefly, Monitor National Marine Sanctuary is one of 13 national marine sanctuaries across the United States, and three or four on the East Coast, a couple in the Gulf, and many more in the Pacific. Monitor National Marine Sanctuary was the first national marine sanctuary established in the United States, and it's designated to protect the remains of the USS Monitor, a Civil War ironclad that was lost during the Civil War. It's supremely unique warship, the first of its kind, a fully metal-aged or metal-built warship. And since 1975, the sanctuary has been established to protect those remains. And over the years, we've done multiple archaeological expeditions to bring up some important artifacts, to bring this ship out of the 240 feet worth of water and bring it to a wider audience. It's really hard to, and you need technical diving experience to get to the Monitor, but in the early 2000s, we were able to bring up some really substantial artifacts, including the turret, the Daldron guns, and the anchor, and some engine pieces, a huge array of equipment. And those are all being conserved at the Mariners Museum in Newport News, right across from our offices, at the largest metals conservation lab. It's the Batten Conservation Lab. And we invite anyone, the public, council members, sometime in June, the dates haven't been set yet, the biggest tank that is holding the turret is going to be drained for people to actually go inside, and you can put your hands and you can actually touch the turret itself while they redo the whole conservation for this coming year. So that'll be something I can let everyone know about those dates. And you're more than welcome to come and visit the lab. So briefly, our job is to preserve and promote the heritage of the sailors and the crew that worked on and served on the vessel, but also it was a tomb for 16 sailors, 2 of which were brought up inside the turret, and their remains were laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery, and their identities are unknown, but they're buried there with full military honors, and that was done in 2013. Again, we are preserving and promoting this heritage of the Monitor. It's a supremely important vessel to our national and international history, but also in that time period that we've been working in North Carolina, we've realized that there is a vast maritime heritage in North Carolina waters that ranges from early trade, Civil War, Revolutionary War, all the way through most recently World War II. And North Carolina, a brief history lesson here, North Carolina houses the most extensive shipwreck collection of World War II vessels all across the East Coast. In a 6-month span following the bombing of Pearl Harbor, over 90 vessels were lost in North Carolina waters. And the majority of them are right off of Cape Hatteras and right here off the Outer Banks. It's not uncommon to hear stories of people hearing or seeing bodies wash ashore. This is evident in Ocracoke, where there's a British cemetery for British sailors that were lost and washed ashore and buried there. Oil on the beaches, ships burning in the night. You hear these stories, and it's rich to this area, and not just a local historical story, but to a broader national audience. Over 1,200 merchant mariners were lost in North Carolina waters alone. And so since about 2008, our main research focus has been toward the Battle of the Atlantic, World War II, as well as World War I. There's a couple of World War I vessels lost off North Carolina. And our big push for this last season was studying the Battle of the KS-520 convoy. It's just a brief, it's just a short designation for a convoy moving in a certain direction. K meant Key West, moving south, and the numbers of that convoy was 520. And in this convoy, there were over 19 ships moving south guarded by 5 armed protection vessels. And this convoy was attacked by one U-boat, the U-576. The U-576 attacked the convoy, letting loose all 4 of its bow torpedoes, and all 4 torpedoes struck a total of 3 vessels, sinking 1, the Bluefields. And after it had let loose its torpedoes, it actually popped to the surface and was, and for a submarine, that is not what you want to do. It was immediately fired upon by the armed vessels, as well as 2 Kingfisher aircraft that were able to drop depth charges on it. And what we thought was that it was sunk immediately, and all of this happened within a 15-minute span. And that was on July 15th, 1942. In 2014, we were actually able to positively identify that one of these unknown shipwreck sites was the U-576. And it's funny anecdotally that fishermen had known about this area for many years under various names, like the Jack Frost wreck or the Snowy Grouper site, but never understood like what it actually was. And in 2014, we were able to use some pretty sophisticated equipment to positively identify this as U-576. And then this last year, last summer, last August, we paired with a nonprofit group called Project Baseline, and we were able to use two-man submersibles to go down at a depth of over 700 feet to see the remains of U-576 and the vessel that it sank, the Bluefields. And they are only 600 feet apart. So in an environment, it made it relatively easy to go in between both predator and prey. And so these are some of the images of our dives down there. And while this is Joe Hoyt, the lead archaeologist, while we were down there, there was 2 things that really popped out. The significance of the remains, we noticed, and one of the archaeological questions was, did anyone get out of the German U-boat? And we noticed that all the hatches were closed. So this is a grave site that houses 45 sailors, albeit they were German. This is a tomb for 45 sailors. And also the entire site itself was immaculately preserved. The only thing missing really are the wooden deck platings. So as we were diving and researching this, it's in the back of our minds, we have to remember and be respectful that this is a grave site. And so we brought back extensive video, photography. This is laser line scanning. And I don't know if anyone had the opportunity just a couple weekends ago on CBS Sunday morning, we had that crew come out and actually be on board, and they did a 6-minute special about this project, actually. I didn't bring it with me, but I can make it available to everyone. Again, these are laser line scannings, immaculately preserved. One of the other main features of our research expedition was the remains of YP-389. It was a converted fishing vessel that was used to protect and guard ships from entering inadvertently the Cape Hatteras minefield. This was sunk in a gun battle with U-701. U-701 is another of 4 total German U-boats that are lost in North Carolina waters. YP-389 lost a battle, gun battle, in a 1-hour battle with U-701. And divers were able to get amazing photography to create a photogrammatic 3D model of this shipwreck. It also sits in about like 325 feet of water, which doesn't make it accessible for recreational divers. But being able to use highly technical divers with their equipment and video and photography skills, we were able to create this model that you can kind of manipulate it and see what the remains are all about. And why are we doing this is ultimately we're there to commemorate and promote a history that, to be honest, if you don't go too far off of the Outer Banks, it's lost to Americans. The Battle of the Atlantic was one of the most extensive and highly if you think of body counts, it's one of the highest in all of World War II. If you were a merchant mariner during World War II, you had a higher percentage of perishing than in any other branch of service. And the majority of shipwrecks off of North Carolina from the Battle of the Atlantic are merchant mariners. And unfortunately, the recognition of certain acts designated by Congress and certain protections are not afforded to these merchant vessels. This is a map of the density of battle-related events in North Carolina waters. You can see right off of Cape Hatteras, it was called Torpedo Junction for a reason, because it was the busiest and hottest zone for enemy action during the war. But again, our office is considering expanding the Monitor sanctuary from its 1 mile column of size to, we haven't really figured out what we're going to do yet in terms of shape or design, but the idea is to incorporate these merchant vessels and protect them and give them a status that is not afforded to any other of these vessel types across the United States. To be frank, it's time to honor the service of the merchant mariners that lost their lives and protect their remains in a way that has not been done before. So that's the ultimate goal of our office. And it's been a long process thus far. So in 2013, it was written in our management plan to consider expanding the boundaries of Monroe National Marine Sanctuary. And last January 2016, we issued a federal notice of intent to start that process. And in February of last year, we had 5 public scoping meetings. One of them was held at Jeanette's Pier. The other was in Beaufort, Hatteras, Raleigh, and Washington, D.C., to get public comment on what this process or what this expansion might look like, how it might affect people, what people would think of this process. We've taken those comments back in, and since then, really been toying with drafting a management plan, what shape of the expansion of the expanded boundary might look like, and we're still in that process of developing that. But hopefully, come this fall, we hope to actually have either regulations, maps, defined areas of what we want to do presented to the public, and where we're going to go through another round of public comment and get input from state agencies, councils, everyone who has a stake in this history and this boundary. And ultimately, we'll see, hopefully next year at this time, whether the boundaries do expand. But our goal ultimately throughout this process is to keep the town councils engaged, answer any questions that they may have at this time. Our goal is to not restrict fishing access, not restrict scuba diving access, but elevate the shipwrecks to a protection where they don't have that right now. You can take and dismantle the shipwrecks right now if you so choose, but our goal is to protect these shipwreck sites as grave sites, as part of the national heritage story of World War II, and say, please don't take things from the shipwreck. That's ultimately the only thing we're asking out of this expansion. So I can answer any questions, hopefully, at this time, if you so have some. But I appreciate your time.
The term sanctuary is a little scary.
Absolutely.
And I don't think anybody I know wants to dismantle those ships, but they certainly want to fish on them, dive on them, do those sort of things. Has that been developed in such a way to protect the normal things that have been going on for years and years?
Yes, absolutely. So I've heard this a couple times, especially from the fishing community, where the word sanctuary means you're cutting off and you're leaving it as you're taking away access where it had been so afforded. And the goal of this, and it's a broader term for all our sanctuaries across the system, whether or not they are protecting humpback whales or coral reefs, or in certain cases like ours in another sanctuary in Thunder Bay, Michigan, just shipwrecks. And so our goal is to protect the shipwreck from activities that are deliberately meant to harm the wreck. So if you're going out there with a hacksaw and a blowtorch underwater, ripping apart the wreck, we're trying to prevent that with this expanded sanctuary. In no way are we trying deliberately or inadvertently to restrict access from normal diving and normal fishing. You are taking your trawl net and driving it through the shipwreck. If it was a sanctuary at that time and you were deliberately doing that, it just doesn't make any sense to anyone to do that, but that would be an issue. But otherwise, if you are out there hook and line, we promote that. We have no desire to restrict any of the normal activities that are going right now. We want to, the really complicated part of this is that the shipwrecks themselves fall under different jurisdictions. That they fall back to the owner, they fall back necessarily to either a government, and there's no cohesive set structure to protect them from deliberate harm. And so the goal of expanding the sanctuary, where we're protecting the USS Monitor, to expand that to incorporate these World War II wrecks is the idea. And along that process, we want to make sure that continued fishing access, continued scuba diving access in a non-harmful manner is open.
Okay, all right,
I
anybody
hope that
else?
answers the question.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now I can go to public comment. Do we have anybody? Anybody wish to speak? Got public comment? We have two of them, one at the beginning, one at the end. Let the record show no one came forward. Do you hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we didn't have anything removed. We're already in new business, and we have Verizon Wireless Communication Facility.
Good evening, Mayor, Town Council. My name is Steve Romine. I'm a local attorney for Verizon Wireless. I have with me Tony Dyerly with MB&C, also with Verizon, handling the site acquisition and some of the other responsibilities for the site. Tonight, we're privileged and happy to be here, and thank you for hearing us for a few minutes. This won't be long. I promise to keep it brief. The concept tonight was to give you some background briefing and information on what Verizon needs with respect to a tower on town property here at the administrative headquarters. What I want to do first is tell you a little bit about background on Verizon, and then a little bit of specifics about what we intend at this location. And then we'll be happy to answer any questions. As you may or may not know, Verizon Wireless is one of the national FCC licensed carriers to provide telecommunication services in this area. Those licenses extend to other carriers as well. We are mandated by the federal government to provide that coverage to our customers. So when we go out and we market coverage to the general public and say, hey, you buy a phone, we provide service, and this is what we expect the coverage to be, then we've got to follow through and act on that and make sure that it's reliable, good coverage, and that they can have the service that they expect. Verizon obviously has been in the business for a long time. We believe, and I believe, they're a leader in the industry, and they strive to have very reliable networks. And those reliable networks are only supported and enhanced and improved by virtue of having sufficient hardware out there propagating signal, which is typically an antenna on a tall structure. And so we have both what we call macro towers, which are a backbone that you're familiar with, around 150, 200 foot, 300 foot towers. More recently, we're also doing small cell nodes, which are smaller things. Antennas look like a bread box that are really focused on congested areas and for special situations. So tonight we're really talking about a macro tower in this locality in order to improve and enhance coverage, not only just direct area, but in a broader area as well. The facilities we have in place have been sufficient to carry a lot of the data and provide the capacity and need both for voice transmission as well as the data transmission. What we're finding over the last 5 years, data usage on our network has gone up 6 times. The projections for the next 5 years, it's going to go up another 600%. So in order to keep ahead of and to keep up with demand, it requires us to continue to invest capital in our network. And so tonight we're here just to talk briefly about a proposal to put up a 150-foot tower. That tower would be really 146 feet with a 4-foot antenna, which makes it a total height of 150. That tower would be structurally built in order to provide co-location opportunity for 2 additional carriers. So it would be Verizon with a what we call a top hat array that you typically see, the triangular array on the top, and then be 2 other locations on that tower sufficient to provide others that might have an interest to come along. We're looking for about a 60 by 60 foot leased area, and then with that leased area we'd have a fenced compound, we'd have either a platform or a shelter, and we'd probably have a diesel generator in there as well. And that generator would be able to provide power in case of an event when electricity is knocked out. Anyway, down here obviously you have that. I live in Virginia Beach, we have it up there as well. And the one thing we do know during hurricanes is many times the only phone that works is a cell tower phone because the generators are powering. Actually, it's going to power itself for a while, maybe 8 hours, and then when that power fades, the generators will kick in and provide that coverage. Recall seeing pictures of Hurricane Andrew down in Homestead, Florida, and if you've ever seen pictures, the whole landscape's flat, and all you have are the towers throughout the whole area that provide the coverage and emergency services. So very effective and a good thing. Our propagation maps are computer plans and models that we run that shows where we have gaps in coverage, and our RF engineers end up making the proposals to where they need facilities. In this case, we have gaps between where we have antennas currently and where we need them in order to fill gaps in and provide the coverage that we're talking about. So our objective obviously is in this town hall area as well as up to 12 and within, half mile, a mile of the antenna. The other good thing about this, it's a win-win for our customers, it's a win-win for the town because you get the revenue from the lease. It's also a win-win for emergency services. Over 90% of all 911 calls today are made from a mobile phone. So no longer are landlines the reliable way that people will make emergency calls. In fact, many people give up their landlines, they don't have landlines, all they have is a cell phone. And so that means that that cell phone needs to be reliable, it needs to work when you need it to work. So it's not a luxury, it's really a necessity. That's about it. From my perspective, we would appreciate the opportunity to get feedback and to work with the town manager to move forward on an application. Tonight, that wasn't the intent for a public hearing. We haven't filed. We're just here as a preliminary basis to provide information, answer questions. So we're happy to be here, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Did I hear you say you'd only be cell phone reception a half mile from the tower?
Well, what I'm saying is the typical macro tower, depending on the height, can propagate up to 3 miles. We don't know it precisely. It depends on the topography, the landscape. But, this particular tower, 150 feet, we don't have prop apps yet because we don't have an application. So I didn't want to over-promise. But typically, they're maybe a mile, mile and a half in radius. So.
Wow.
Now, you can get better coverage across water and across flat landscape.
Sure.
So, but typically with tree coverage and facilities and.
Well, you certainly have tree coverage here,
Yeah.
and you got power lines here.
But
Those power lines?
But we get above it at 150 feet.
Be above. Those are 80 and 90, 80 and 90. But yeah, down here with the topography, just like you said, we're looking more about probably 2 miles, mile and 3/4 with the 150-foot tower.
Okay. All right,
It's a little
so,
different out
And
there.
that's the reason we need 150 feet. You want to be below 200 because you don't have to light it below 200.
right. So, what Andy needs from us, I guess, is whether council wants to pursue this to the point of perhaps an application. Is that what you need from us?
Yes, sir.
All right. And, Andy, in the research, well, first off, is that what you want to do?
Well, let me ask, is what you're planning on putting here the same thing that you've got in Southern Shores?
No, it is not, because in Southern Shores, it's a slick stick. The antennas are inside the tower. And those antennas typically don't propagate as well as an externally mounted antenna. In fact, they propagate much less. So if we were to build what we call a slick stick, which is the internal stealth antennas, you would most likely need maybe one or two more locations. So in order to avoid proliferation of the network, number of towers you need, we prefer to invest and do a 150-foot tower and put the antennas on there that'll reach the coverage that we need versus a more stealth-looking one like a slick stick, and you might need two more. So we call it splitting the ring. You know, if you don't get the coverage objective with that first facility, you end up having to add others. Do you want to comment on that? Because you got some background as well.
Absolutely. I mean, those slick sticks, they look really nice, and then in certain occasions that we certainly do like to do those, especially in like highly populated areas like Richmond or in Norfolk or something like that. But in something like this, we want to get as much coverage as possible. So we're not doing this again in a year and a half saying we need to put another one up. That's what we're trying to avoid. And after talking with the RF engineer and looking at the topography here, that 150 foot is going to be good for a good amount of time for us in this area. Yeah.
Andy, maybe in some of your conversations, you can maybe get us some more information if sometime in the future we need some space for emergency equipment.
Yeah, let me comment on that. I had it on here, I didn't touch on it. I mentioned we would provide it. Now, Verizon will always provide for no cost to the locality the ability for the fire and rescue to co-locate their communication services on the tower. Now, it's subject to Verizon's conditions, and part of those conditions are availability of space, the amount of space, and there are other conditions on there. If we had localities take the space and then rent it out to a third-party competitor, you know, and so some prohibitions on how you use the space, but it's typically just for your fire and rescue service at no cost, and we usually work out any types of conflicts not on transmission and frequency, but conflicts on space. So we typically would like to know up front early, you know, what the needs are, that way we can accommodate it. What gets difficult is the tower's up 5 years, 2 other people co-locate, and then the town comes along and says we want to go on, and it may or may not be feasible at that juncture. So we always like to say, yeah, it's free, and we're happy to do it, but it's good to get an early dialogue going with fire.
I'll add to that really quick. If you look at the NAG's head, it's almost the same tower we're talking about doing on the NAG's head town property. If you look at that, they've got emergency services on it, and I want to say it's at like 100, maybe 90 foot on the tower. You'll look up there and you'll see their stuff up there. That's a really good like visual example you guys can look at and say, okay, that's what they're talking about.
And when we come back for the hearing, we'll be glad to bring our prompt maps and photo sims and give you the more full array of what it's going to look like.
Yeah, and if I could, the discussions I've been having, and from the initial discussions, was the monopole tower, similar to what was in Southern Shores. So this is the first I've heard about a tower. I know you, I don't think you were at the beginning discussions of it.
What is a monopole? It's not a tower.
Yeah, I was just
But
thinking it was the
monopole has a
concealed,
top hat array, you can have what we call an external mounted
Yeah.
antenna, which is the typical monopole.
right, yeah, the initial picture that was sent to me by Verizon was the one with the.
Was the slick stick.
Was the slick stick,
Yeah,
so,
okay.
yeah, I mean, you get a good presentation and all, but I just want to make sure, going back to this tower, that wasn't anything that I've presented to the council
Yeah,
at this
I
point.
apologize for that.
Yeah.
And then again, if it were to come down to it, we had to do the slick stick, if that's what you guys decide you wanted to do. The problem with that, again, is in a year and a half, we're gonna have to do another one and somewhere else. So, just trying to avoid that if it's at all possible.
Well, you obviously need to get us a picture of what, you need to get us a picture of what it is
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
proposing, and
Absolutely.
next time I'm in Ag's Head, I'll take
I
a
call
look
it
at
top hat, it's just a triangle, you know.
Yeah, I understand.
They're exterior mounted.
Anyone else? Okay, Andy, in looking at this, there is one thing I want you to take note of, and you wouldn't know this. I think Lynn probably has it, but there was an expansion plan for the town, and part of that expansion plan was for something to go up on the hill, a police station or something up there. Am I right?
Rescue.
What?
EMS? Yeah.
EMS and police, or just EMS?
I think just
I think it's EMS, yeah.
Okay, we need to know where we're at with, I don't foresee that happening, but at least know that it's there because you're
Okay.
doing the talking with these folks.
Right.
And,
That would be very important, because the more coordination we do, the better we can
Sure.
provide support to
Yeah.
you guys.
I just happen to know about that for other reasons. I knew it was there somewhere. So there's a plan on the shelf, we just need to pull it out and say yes or no on that. All right, council, do we proceed?
Yes, sir.
We have a consensus.
Yeah.
All right, I don't see a need for a motion, we have a consensus.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to working with you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have something that's been somewhat contentious. And pass this one down, please. All right, next we have we have to make a decision tonight, council, on traffic control at 158 and NC 12. And leading up to that, I've got some comments preceding council discussion regarding continuation of peak tourist traffic manning of intersection 158-12 for the summer season of 2017. But first, I need a brief refresher for benefit of public and council. During the summers of 2015-16, a consortium of police officers from Kitty Hawk, Southern Shores, Duck, Currituck, and Dare County deputies and NC State troopers voluntarily manned the intersection in a secondary traffic control effort to mitigate congestion from the blocked intersection between signal change. During 2016, it became apparent that primary duties of each of the participating departments were overwhelming the ability to perform this extra duty. A meeting of all departments confirmed that several units would no longer be available for continued assistance. At that meeting, the Dare County Sheriff indicated he had sufficient off-duty police officers to accomplish the job, but not sufficient overtime pay budgeted for the work. All at the meeting agreed a request for funding be submitted to the Tourist Bureau with the intent that the Sheriff's Office would use the money for continued mitigation efforts at the intersection. On August 4, 2016, as mayor of the town in which the intersection exists, I presented a request to the Tourist Board for funding not to exceed $25,000. To date, that request has not been granted. Our discussion tonight will decide whether Kitty Hawk should continue to participate at the intersection or decline further involvement beyond the primary duties of our police department to respond to calls and normal functions. In making that decision, there are several important issues that you must take into consideration. One, the consortium has fallen apart. Duck, Southern Shores, and the Dare County Sheriff's Department have indicated continued support, but when they are recalled for primary duty, Kitty Hawk will stretch to make up the deficit. Two, is this voluntary effort required? As long as the state-installed traffic signals and signage remain functional, the answer is no. It was never required to begin with and remains a strictly volunteer effort. Three, this whole exercise, asking the Tourist Bureau to provide funding, was to enable a single source of known police labor to continue tourist traffic mitigation so our police officers are available for primary response to town and citizen needs. 4, does the Tourist Bureau, Dare County Board of Commissioners, or other towns consider this volunteer effort important to the citizens of the county or tourists visiting Dare and Currituck? With the exception of Duck and Southern Shores, the answer appears to be no, based on lack of participation in funding or manpower. 5, the town of Kitty Hawk did not take the case for traffic control to Raleigh. As we all know, that created a legislative problem for the Tourist Bureau. The Bureau and the County Board of Commissioners did that with no help or assistance from any member of this council. 6, finally, it has come to my attention that at the last Tourist Board meeting, a letter from NC State Troopers was read stating the town of Kitty Hawk was primarily responsible for traffic control within town limits. It is important for council and the public to understand that no member of council ever indicated otherwise. The initial statement that 158 and 12 were state roads and therefore should be controlled by state troopers came from the Tourist Board attorney during the August 4, 2016 meeting. From that statement, the county commissioner representing the Board of Commissioners indicated he knew someone to ask at the state level. His intervention resulted in the resolution that all towns except Kitty Hawk sent to Raleigh. At no time then or since has any member of this council or town staff hinted, implied, or shrank from the primary duties associated with proper police efforts within town limits. Any statement or innuendo to the contrary is a damn lie. Now, council, I give you some information. Follow your conscience, and let's make a decision. Continue or not. The floor is open for discussion. You want to go?
Who wants to go? You want me to go first? Go.
Go ahead, Craig.
Where is this intersection located? It is in Kitty Hawk. Our police chief, these are my feelings, our police chief has an obligation to our citizens and all who pass through our town to keep the traffic moving whenever possible. We have all seen how much officers working this intersection in the past has helped. I've been approached a number of times over the past couple of weeks by officials from other towns and agencies in our area, and they have all been asking me the same question: is Kitty Hawk going to help with the traffic issue this year? This put me in a very uncomfortable position, and I know other members sitting here have been asked that same thing. I fully support the decision that our officers take part in the traffic direction at US 158 NC 12 intersection. Are there other agencies that should be taking part? Absolutely. Should the Dare County Tourist Bureau be involved in this to some extent? Absolutely. I have spoken with Chief Johnson about this issue, and he assures me that his department can take part in a rotation schedule without involving any overtime. I trust him and trust that he can make this happen. That's all I need to know. I'm not about to tell him how to do his job. This has turned into a political issue and should never have gotten to this point. I know some members of this council may disagree with me on this, but my opinion is we should not be here having to vote on this issue. We all want to do the right thing for our town and its citizens. That's what we're elected to do. According to Chief Johnson, there are 3 more agencies ready and willing to be involved in this assignment. They are DUC, Southern Shores, and the Dare County Sheriff's Office. And I want to thank these agency heads and their officers for stepping up and offering to help. County Kitty Hawk, that would be 4 departments involved. It would be unrealistic and unprofessional for these agencies to take part in traffic direction in our town, in our own police department not taking its turn in rotation. I know that other members of council sitting here tonight have been dealing with the pros and cons of this situation for some time now. We all have varying opinions, and I have the utmost respect for whatever decision you all make tonight, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. My decision will be to vote in support of Kitty Hawk and the other agencies involved taking part in the traffic direction rotation at the intersection of US 158 and NC 12 in Kitty Hawk every Saturday and Sunday from Memorial Day through Labor Day. I will be glad to make that into a motion if this council wishes. This has become a contentious issue. I myself have had the friendship of 2 county employees damaged because of this. And I don't know if it's repairable or not, because I happen to see this different from they do. I feel very strongly about this. We should be taking part, directing traffic at this intersection. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, very well stated. Thank you. Irvin?
Okay, I got to spin on this. First of all, Joel, thank you for what your department done in the past. And all you do, you represent the town very well, very professional manner. It's my personal belief that the Tourist Bureau should jump up and take responsibility, because this is a whole county-wide issue, having the traffic. Everybody benefits from the tourists coming down here. And that's been my point at the Tourist Bureau. I told the members in the steering committee, I also told them in budget committee meeting, of how folks get stuck on the bridge, and they get here, they're coming here to spend their money. It's a tourist-related issue. So therefore, all the towns, meaning Nags Head, Manio, Hatteras Island, Duck, should participate in the monitoring and to alleviate the traffic problem here, which will come from a fund, and I suggested for them to come up with, I suggested a number of $50,000, which had been done earlier in 2003 for the centennial. They had a traffic budget study done, and they put hitters that showed where traffic was and to delay a traffic coming off the bridge and so forth for the centennial. So it wasn't setting a precedent. Put it in the budget, allowed those funds to go for different things in the county, for the day at the docks, for the marathon, for this issue here. Tourist-related, be a tourist-related issue. I do believe that maybe there's enough votes on that board for me to get them to vote for that. It would be a fight. I, too, have got people that are on me and say, I can't believe you're trying to go for this thing here. This is not what the Tourist Bureau does. The attorney for the Tourist Bureau even says this is not what the Tourist Bureau does. So, having said that, I do not want the town of Kitty Hawk not to fund this thing, and then all of a sudden, in the summertime, we have 3 of the people funding it, and then something happens at that intersection, and we're not there to defend our position. Someone gets hurt, a wreck, someone loses their temper, and we hear later on that the town of Kitty Hawk was not there. I'm gonna tell you guys, I don't back up very often, because this has been a contentious thing, but I'm backing up on this. I'm backing up for the town of Kitty Hawk. I'm backing up for the people of Dare County, because it's their job to put ourselves out there and take care of our people, and also take care of the tourists. But I will tell you, in my gut feeling, it is the Tourist Bureau's responsibility, once again, to fund this thing. And they should, because it's a tourist-related issue. Right now, and I would just tell you this, and I'm throw this out there to you. The town of Nags Head, we just had a marathon. It left Kitty Hawk. It ran to the town of Nags Head. Nags Head charged the marathon, which is a nonprofit organization that gives money, every bit of money they have, they give back to the people of Nags Head, Kitty Hawk, all the municipalities with the debilitating diseases. They charged $288 per officer to man the stations there, plus $30 for a cop car. And so they're charging people, the tourists, it's bringing tourist dollars down here. We're talking our 2 sides of our mouths. If it's a tourist-related issue, let the Tourist Bureau pay for it. I'm going to vote along with Craig here, and we disagreed with this too, by the way. I called him up and I said, Craig, I'm not backing up. I don't care who you are, what you think. I respect you. I respect Chief Joel Johnson, but I'm not voting for this thing. But I don't want nothing to happen and then my town be responsible or look bad. So I'm going to go along with Craig on this deal, not because I want to, because it's the right thing to do for the people.
Lynn?
I see 2 separate issues here. The first issue is whether Kitty Hawk should be taking care of the traffic at the intersection. The road runs between Kitty Hawk and Southern Shores. Southern Shores has an obligation, and Kitty Hawk has an obligation. Our chief of police and our police department know their jobs. They know they have to keep the streets and roads in Kitty Hawk clear, moving as best it can based on the traffic volume. Emergency vehicles have got to be able to get through. Fire trucks, rescue people. The tourists need to get to their destination. Kitty Hawk has an obligation to provide traffic control to keep it moving. The signals the DOT put out there when tourist visitors get here are a little insufficient to make sure that cars don't enter the intersection when the light turns yellow. That driver with a car full of screaming children who are looking for a bathroom and a lot of other things doesn't want to sit for another light cycle. He's going to push his way through. This is going to cause problems. We're going to have gridlock. Tempers raise, get higher. Nobody's happy. When people are not happy, they don't spend money. We are dependent upon them for our economy. We want them safe. We want them happy. I am 100% behind our chief in coming up with a solution to get the folks through the intersections, to schedule his people, to make the resources available that Kitty Hawk has to keep the traffic moving. The second issue I see is the Tourist Bureau has an obligation. I went back to the county code. I looked up the legislation that enabled the beginning of the Tourist Bureau. The Tourist Bureau has funds designated to offset the effect of tourism. They advertise the Outer Banks, the people come, and the Tourist Bureau needs to give the infrastructure, the towns, some of the money that they have to keep everything working. That's the Tourist Bureau's obligation to everybody in Dare County that created the Tourist Bureau. Dare County enabled them. They need to do their part. And that's the way I look at it. One thing is, yes, we need to man the intersection. The separate issue is we got to keep working on the Tourist Bureau until they understand that they need to help us. Because when people get backed up in traffic, they don't come back next year. And that's just the way I look at it.
Thank you. Jeff?
Well, I get to be at the end, so everybody's pretty much said everything. I am just kind of like Irvin. I really didn't want to man this intersection. I think it's a responsibility of everybody that helped create the problem. The Kitty Hawk taking this on alone, I definitely wouldn't be in agreement with. I would like to see more people get on board to help us with the problem that every town has helped create. I haven't spoken with Joel to find out what other police are going to help us and how much this is all going to cost. And I do know that we have a lot of people in the town of Kitty Hawk that need that intersection open to get to work. The tourists, you know, they're coming, they're on vacation. I know Lynn's looking out for them. I'm looking out for some of the local people here that are trying to get to clean the pools and to clean the houses. And they have a limited amount of time in the morning to get to these places to have them ready by 1, 2, 3 o'clock. This is tough. I mean, I do think the Tourist Bureau should pitch in. They advertise for this and they've got them here and help us deal with them. But I don't want to see the intersection clogged. So I also am going to have to go along with manning this intersection in some kind of way, hopefully with the help of other agencies. So whatever Joel can pull together, or Andy, or whoever can pull together. I certainly don't want to do it with Kitty Hawk just doing it by themselves. That's me. As long as we have 4 agencies willing to go along till we can fight maybe to get some money later on, but summer's coming quick, and we've got to make a decision tonight, it seems like. So I guess my decision would be to try to man this intersection with the best way we can.
Okay. Craig, you want to make a motion?
Yes, sir, I'd be glad to. Is the one I read okay with you, sir?
Yeah, it sounded good to me.
Make a motion that Kitty Hawk and the other agencies involved taking part in the traffic direction rotation at the intersection of US 158 and NC 12 in Kitty Hawk every Saturday and Sunday from Memorial Day through Labor Day.
I'll second the motion, but let me see if I can get some direction from you guys. I've got a Terrisbury meeting coming up, a budget and also the steering committee. And what I was going to do was, if this passes, I was going to give them, and they'll know by that time anyway, but what the results were, also what our board has discussed. And I was still going to suggest that we have a line item in there for $50,000, which would alleviate the impact on the municipalities for the marathon and for the Day of the Docks and all these other things. If y'all want me to do that?
Yeah.
Yes.
That way I can go ahead and piss somebody else off.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to say that you've been fighting this a good long time, and we really appreciate that.
I kind of enjoyed it, to be honest with you.
And all the other towns appreciate the effort you put into it, too. You've been dealing with some really stubborn people down there, there's no question. And I don't mean the whole board, it's not the whole board. But they have really been stubborn. So, all right. Did you second his motion?
I did.
All right. Anyone else have any further discussion? All right. Then we'll call for all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is no. And my reason for no is the principal that started this volunteer effort, it's not required, was Curtup. Though they are the people that were, and it wasn't even to get their people up to their destination. It was because they can't get out of their houses all the way back to Moyock sometime, all right? So they were the principal architect to bring all this together. When this first started, I could have stopped it as far as what we were doing. And I didn't because of the pressure from Southern Shores, which wants to keep every car out of its neighborhood as best it can. And if we can keep it going through this intersection, then that does what they want. And Duck gets less complaint if they can get their people up there on a more rational basis. So, not having stopped this, I did have serious concerns that exactly what is happening would happen. And that is, this coalition would not stick together. My no vote also is because I know from past experience that the Kitty Hawk Police Department will be called upon when they don't expect to because somebody didn't show up or they had to go answer a call within their own jurisdiction. And that's happened. And Joel knows that's happened, and he can expect it to happen again. It was never about the money. Money was just an end to a means for a different alternative. It was never about the money. It's about protecting our own police department. And because we are where we are, my vote is no, and to the citizens of Kitty Hawk, I apologize for letting this get to the point it's got. Well, they can't stop it now. You've come to expect it. You think it's required. It is not. All right? Enough said? Let's move on. Okay. We have to consider a change order for a beach nourishment plan that CB&E, our beach nourishment folks, basically have come to us for. And I have to tell you that when all of the discussion and all of this contract was being set up, I thought this was done. I actually thought this was done and a part of the contract. But apparently it was not. So then Andy and I got to talking about it, and it's basically a plan that he could cut and paste from existing documents and sits on the shelf until you need it. The other thing, though, that bothered me, and the reason I had him bring it to us and not cut and paste something, is because I was here when Coumcil had a grant that was denied because of administrative lapse. I don't know how else to put it. In other words, the Ts weren't crossed, the Is weren't eyed, and the citizens of this town paid a high price for that. If we have this behind us, the question now is for Casey, if we do it ourselves, we bite it. If we have this and we need it to get FEMA to do what we need, and they mess it up, then do you have something to work with?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think we could, it'd be a contractual issue at that point, and I think we could put that into writing with FEMA, some form of hold harmless or indemnity agreement against the town in the event that, again, FEMA goes out there to maintain and facilitate this plan, and as you said, damage occurs, whether it be to person or property, then absolutely. Then I think we could put them in an independent contractor type situation, which again would allow us to put liability on them, absolutely. And take it off of us if, again, the details are worked out in the beginning and we make sure we have that incorporated into any form of document that we enter into regarding this plan.
Right.
We want to make sure we're shifting liability, absolutely.
We would want you, acting on behalf of the town, to be a party to this.
Absolutely.
All right, did everybody understand why I brought it to you? Can you see why, I don't like spending the money, but on the other hand, it's cheap by comparison when we need it. All right, so I don't think I need to speak to it anymore. Do I hear a motion to, do we have a proposed motion? Do it. Give it to me.
Mr. Mayor, authorize Dare County to create a change order in an amount not to exceed $8,000 with CB&I Engineering to create a beach maintenance plan for the town of Kitty Hawk.
Is there a
Second. Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, and we're all in agreement that we want the attorney to work with Andy in order to make it
Yes,
to
ma'am.
the best advantage for
Absolutely.
the town. All right,
Absolutely.
very good. Thank you. Now, turtles. Dear Lord in heaven. For you folks that don't know, beach nourishment and turtles is oil and water. They're giving us a fit over that. Anyway, the bottom line is there are some issues with trawling for turtles. We have to do that 5 days at the borrow area prior to dredging. And if no turtles are caught, then in theory, they can start dredging. And the dredge, once he gets on the bottom, and they're not allowed to turn it on until he gets on the bottom, has what I'm calling a turtle excluder. It's like, think of a train and a cow catcher that you see on the front of a train to push turtles and other things away from the dredge, and the suctions, in theory, is on the bottom. So, the problem comes up, and this was unexpected. If they suck up a turtle after that, then turtle trawling is required for the whole evolution. And Nag's Head had to trawl for the whole evolution, just so you know. We're not being required to do that at this time. But if a turtle is caught, then trawlers have to come. The dredge operator is telling us that at this time that it would be a 3-day delay where he is laying by waiting to get these trawlers or trawler in position because he's dismissed them at some point. A 3-day delay in that case would be plus well over $1 million for ships laying idle. And that could happen because we're 3 towns. That could happen whether or not Duck's done, Kitty Hawk's done, Kill Devil Hills is still out there doing it, and you could have the same amount of money, liability. The question then becomes who pays? That argument's already started and we haven't got there. So what I need from you folks is a sense of where Andy takes this next, and me in that case. If we have to, and we're trying, and by the way, we're trying to find out if they can get trawlers quicker, why does it take 3 days to do it, that sort of thing. Are the other towns going to ask to do continuous trawling, which would add $300,000 to the cost right now? Possibly, or less sand being pumped, one or the other. So the question is, do we join with the other towns and say, we're just going to trawl the whole time, add $300,000 to our budget, each town's budget, for that particular, or take the risk and see what happens? And remember, I said, if we don't catch any, and Nags Head, and the whole time they were trawling, never caught a turtle, and we're further north and further out at sea. So the risk factor for us is less than it would have been south of us. Or we either take the risk, we pay the money, or what was the other thing? Something that just came up.
What was the two you just said? Pay the money.
Take the risk. Pay the money, take the risk. There was something else they were talking about. Oh,
Have somebody on standby.
or have them on standby, right. See, one of the questions we got, Wanchese is full of trawlers. We don't quite understand what that's all about. So this may resolve itself. But what I need from you is whether or not we take the risk, or if the other towns don't want to take that risk and pay up, do we kind of not do that? And I give you some information to work from before you got here, so
Did you say it was 300,000 per town?
if they do full-time turtle. And the other aspect was, and, it was the latest thing that came out of CB&E, was it put less sand on the beach, some percentage of less sand in order
Don't do
to
that.
make it.
Let me ask this, so if we opt to be the only one, and we decide to take a chance, they're not gonna suck a turtle up, they stuck a turtle up, and they're on our property dredging at the time, do we pay the $1 million?
That's the question that's already in dispute. We don't know the answer.
Okay.
Because it's a 3-town project, so that answer we don't know.
I can just see somebody saying, since it was in the town of Kitty Hawk, and you sucked the turtle up.
Well, you could argue the
you're gonna
same
pay it.
thing. Duck and Kitty Hawk are done, and Kill Level Hills is still doing. They don't want to pay the $1 million+ dollars. So it's just one of those things that we have to deal with.
So it's kind of like turtle insurance.
Well, yeah, I reckon. Anyway, I'm inclined, because I've seen how they are supposed to work, and I know that we're further north, further out. Nags Head didn't catch any turtles. I'm inclined to take the risk. That is my thinking, as far as not trawling the full length. I don't want to put any less sand on the beach. We don't have a lot of sand to start with. We need every grain we can get out there.
And so they are going to trawl first, right, before?
That's required.
And then, I mean, and then they can, if they catch one then, do they require you automatically then?
At
So we-
that point, but there's no layover because you got the
Sure.
trawler there already.
Okay, so
So that's the difference.
the risk could be,
In some cases, that might be better to,
right,
catch the
so if
turtle
they
up
go
front.
catch one somewhere right out of the beginning, it doesn't matter, we're all going to pay.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
that's for sure. But if you don't catch any up at that first 5 days.
5 days, then you're on your own.
Then you're either gambling or you're not gambling. That's the way it works, okay?
Do you know some trawl boat people, Andy?
I don't, but like the mayor said, though, I mean, maybe somebody will sit around on a retainer for a lot less than $1 million, you know, for the whole
And-
duration of the project, I'm sure.
And that question is being asked. So some of this might resolve itself before we get to the point where I need, and Andy needs, to be able to, on a conference call, say, do this or that.
There'll still be a cost, though, right? Yeah. Either way we look at it, there's gonna be a cost unless we just say, we'll
Yeah,
just
but
wait
it-
to see.
But is
Yeah.
it 300?
Yeah,
Is it a
exactly.
million? You know,
Exactly, yeah.
That's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
All right. So do I take the gamble and no, or?
I say gamble.
And I say we take a gamble and see what they catch to begin with. That's what I do. Let's
All
take a
right.
gamble.
Okay, I think that's where we'll take it from here. All right, thank you.
And always use local if you can.
Yeah. Turtle Snoot. I did hear that fella say at the last construction meeting that he knows we all get uptight about the turtle issue, but he said he has a colonel that he has to answer to, and the colonel has made it clear that if turtles are not accounted for, it could shut down beach nourishment on the whole entire East Coast. So they take it that serious, and we have to also. All right, next we have to schedule a public hearing. Do we got that?
I've got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
All right.
I make a motion to schedule a public hearing for the fiscal year 2017, 2018 budget for June the 5th, 2017 at 6 PM at the Kitty Hawk Town Hall.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none? All right. Andy, you got any comments?
No, other than the summer season is quickly approaching. The lifeguards will start Memorial Day weekend and finish up Labor Day weekend. We're looking right now in front of the bathhouse. There's not much beach left, so we may be just putting a chair at Lillian Street for now, but we're going to analyze that as we get closer. I mean, right now, there is no place to put a lifeguard chair, but we did have in the budget to add the additional lifeguard stand at Lillian Street in our budget. So that is kind of where we're headed. We're just getting ready for the summer season, and I believe that is all I have this evening.
Yeah, there's no, not much sand and beach there at the bathhouse. And I'm always amazed, it's like it's growing concrete blocks and stuff back there. My goodness. All right, Mr. Town Attorney?
Nothing from me, Mayor.
Okay, when do we finalize that last?
It's been May 30th. No, 30th.
30th?
Yes, sir.
Cutting that one fine, aren't we?
Yes,
Okay.
indeed.
All right, Town Council, anybody?
Well, I thank you, Chief, 20 years for our community. I really appreciate it. You've been more than a fire chief, you've been a friend to me and my family and a lot of people, and I certainly appreciate your friendship and your job well done.
Thank you, Chief Spivey. Thank you, Chief Johnson. And thank the rest of the people at Kitty Hawk for taking care of the town in the way that you do. I do have one thing I'd like to bring up, and I'd like to see if the council would like to get behind it. Kitty Hawk Road has a lot of foot traffic and a lot of bicycle traffic, and that is increasing almost daily. And we get a lot of folks, we watch them, they come down the road and they see one of the signs that DOT has put up that points to with an arrow to a bicycle path, and they kind of look around like they're not sure what they're about, what's supposed to do. And if you're coming from the east on Kitty Hawk Road, as you come down towards the bend before the police station, Moore Shore Road's on the left. And DOT has placed a sign that says that there is a bike path 1 mile down Moore Shore Road. But there's no crosswalk designation for them to know where to cross, and that it really should be Moore Shore Road. We've got the same problem down at the Woods Road. We have people going places and a lot of pedestrian and bike traffic, local people and visitors, that are targets for cars flying around bends, and the folks don't know where they're supposed to cross. The traffic is not warned that they should expect to see some pedestrians around or some folks on bike going across the road. And I'd like the council to get behind a request to DOT to put crosswalks across both the intersections at Moore Shore and the Woods Road on Kitty Hawk Road.
You're talking about traveling on West Kitty Hawk Road, a crosswalk across the
Moore Shore.
access to, well, I know about Moore
Yeah.
Shore.
And across for down by the Woods Road, when they're coming down the bike path, and they want to get across Kitty Hawk Road to go down Bob Perry Road, or if they're going to be making a left turn, because that's the way they're supposed to be, the side of the road they're supposed to be going on, there's no crosswalk for them to get across Kitty Hawk Road. All I want is, some crosswalk stripes across the road and a sign that says, you might see pedestrians, pedestrian crossing, bicycle crossing, just to let folks know that this is where the town has designated that it should be. I think the police would appreciate, Joel?
Is this something you and Willie and Chief Johnson can get together on? and-
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Really, didn't they put some white stripes at Poor Ridge, or not Poor Ridge, but at the Woods Road?
Just last week,
Yeah.
they did put the crosswalk to the Woods Road and across Kitty Hawk Road at the end of the bike path on Woods Road, where they had not completed the project earlier. So those are in place now.
Right.
So there is a crosswalk across the Woods Road and also across West Kitty Hawk Road.
I noticed that
There
this
is?
morning. Yeah.
Okay, well then that got done. But I'd like to see a new one up at Moore Shore Road.
Moore Shore would be a new request.
Anybody else? Further, you got anything?
No.
Chief Spivey, congratulations. Very impressive turnout by your department tonight. Hope you're here another 20. I won't be, but I hope you are, okay?
Yeah, I want to thank the chief, too. Thank you, chief. So,
That it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you also, Chief. We appreciate that. Well, we appreciate all the staff. They just, all of you do a good job. Just that simple. All right. Public comment. Anybody want to speak to public comment now? Let the record show no one came forward. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
some ammunition since we voted on this thing.